Emily sat on her bed, scrolling through social media on her phone. It was late, but she couldn't sleep. The room too quiet, the air heavy. Her thumb froze as an unfamiliar notification popped up. "You have one missed call." Confused, she checked the number. It was blocked. She didn't recognize the area code. With a chill creeping down her spine, she returned to the screen and saw a text from the same unknown number. "You're next." Emily's heart raced, but she dismissed it as a prank. She set the phone down on the nightstand and tried to close her eyes, but the sound of her phone vibrating again made her snap awake. The same number was calling her. Reluctantly, she picked it up, only to hear nothing but static on the other end. The eerie silence stretched out before a voice whispered, barely audible, "You can't escape." Emily's mind raced as she hung up the phone. Could it be some sick joke? She tried blocking the number, but it called again, over and over. Each time she picked up, only the static remained, along with a creeping sense of dread. She threw the phone under her pillow, but sleep was impossible now. Her room felt colder. By morning, Emily was exhausted, her nerves frayed. She checked her phone to find that all the missed calls were gone. No trace of the strange number. Relief washed over her for a brief moment, but the moment she unlocked the phone, a new message appeared. "You will answer soon." Her stomach dropped. She hadn't seen that number in hours. Determined to put it behind her, Emily went about her day, trying to focus on work, but the sensation of being watched lingered. Every time she glanced at her phone, her hands would tremble. That evening, as she sat down for dinner, the phone buzzed again. "I'm closer than you think." She dropped her fork. The phone calls continued, growing more frequent, more urgent. Each time she answered, the same static followed, sometimes with the whispers growing louder. She couldn't make out the words, but they filled her with a fear she couldn't shake. Every corner of her apartment now felt ominous. Emily decided she needed to leave. In an attempt to escape, Emily stayed at a friend's house. But when she checked her phone, the missed calls and texts were back. "I know where you are." A chill ran through her as she realized the voice on the other end knew exactly where she was staying. The paranoia began to settle in. There was nowhere safe. Emily confronted her friend Alex, telling him everything. He tried to calm her down, dismissing it as a glitch or a prank. But as they sat on the couch together, Emily's phone buzzed again. She showed him the message. "I'm watching you." Alex's expression faltered. Something was wrong. That night, as Emily slept on the couch, her phone rang again. This time, Alex grabbed it before she could. A voice broke through the static, whispering, "She's not safe with you." Alex froze, then quickly hung up, his hands shaking. "We need to get help," he said, his voice low and worried. The two of them drove to a nearby police station. Alex explained the situation, but the officer seemed dismissive, chalking it up to prank calls or a hacked number. But as Emily checked her phone, another message appeared. "You're not listening." She felt her stomach twist, knowing the figure was watching her every move. Back at the apartment, Emily felt the walls closing in. She barely slept, constantly checking her phone. One afternoon, while shopping for groceries, she received a call. A voice on the other end said, "There's no escape from me." This time, Emily screamed, dropping her phone as she felt something dark stir in the air. Desperate, Emily turned to the internet, researching the strange phenomenon. She found an obscure forum of people with similar experiences. They all spoke of an entity that used phones to find and torment its victims. A shiver ran down her spine as she realized it wasn't just happening to her, it was happening to others too. The online community suggested an ancient ritual to rid oneself of the entity, but Emily felt reluctant. What if it made things worse? The whispers had started to invade her mind, following her everywhere. She could feel its presence, always just behind her. She couldn't tell if she was losing her grip on reality. Emily prepared for the ritual, lighting candles and surrounding herself with protective symbols. As she read the incantation aloud, her phone rang. She hesitated before answering. The voice on the other end sounded different, deeper, more malevolent. "You think this will stop me? You belong to me now." The ritual didn't work. In fact, it only seemed to strengthen the presence. Emily could hear footsteps following her, always just out of sight. She stopped leaving the apartment, barricading herself in, but the calls continued. Each one was more urgent, more chilling than the last. She was trapped in her own nightmare. Alex came to visit again, trying to help, but when he entered, he looked around with a strange expression. "You're not alone," he whispered. Emily turned to face him, confused. The phone rang again, and Alex's face drained of color. The voice on the other end spoke clearly now. "She's mine." Alex tried to take Emily's phone from her, but she refused. It felt like it was her only connection to the outside world now, even though it was a constant source of terror. She stared at the screen, waiting for another message, but it didn't come. Instead, the phone grew cold in her hands, almost freezing. As Emily grew weaker, her mind began to unravel. The phone became a constant presence, like an extension of herself. Every time it rang, she answered, only to hear the voice taunting her. She stopped eating, stopped sleeping. The phone was the only thing that mattered, and it was killing her. One night, Emily didn't wake up. Her phone rang, but no one was there to answer. Alex rushed to her side, finding her pale and lifeless. In her hand, the phone clutched tight. The voice on the other end whispered one final time. Another soul claimed. The authorities were baffled by Emily's death. There were no signs of struggle, no obvious cause, but as they investigated her phone, they found dozens of strange messages, each one more cryptic than the last. The phone, however, was silent now. No one knew where it had come from. Months passed, and life slowly returned to normal. Alex, however, couldn't forget what had happened. One night, while looking through his old phone, a message appeared on the screen. "You didn't escape." His heart stopped as he realized the same thing had started happening to him. Alex tried to block the number, but it didn't help. The calls continued, growing more frequent. Desperate, he contacted the online forum again. Someone there told him the truth. Once it finds you, it never stops. Alex now understood. The phone wasn't just a device, it was a portal, and he had become its next victim. Alex's life became a nightmare as the phone calls grew more intense. He couldn't escape the voice, always whispering just beyond the static. It began to haunt his dreams, the figure from the phone growing closer each night. He realized that Emily wasn't the first, and he wouldn't be the last. One night, Alex received one last call. The voice on the other end was loud now, no longer static. "You belong to me now." The phone fell from his hand, the screen shattering as a cold breeze swept through the room. He couldn't run anymore. It was over. Months later, the phone was found in a pawn shop. Another unsuspecting person bought it, unaware of the curse it carried. As they unlocked the phone, a message appeared. "You're next." The cycle would continue. Thanks for watching, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel for more new videos.